So the last time we talked was about your interest and publications in electoral systems and in voting rules at large. But today I wanted to focus on sort of your look at personal representation.
Yeah, that's the title of this book that I edited more recently.
Ah,
That actually coined this expression, personal representation, which means selection of individuals. And then this is understudied because most electoral studies are on electoral systems are about rules to allocate seats to political parties. But this is different because so if you look at the ballots, say for instance, this is a ballot in India. Okay, there are many different states in India with different ballots, but this is one. And so it's wonderful. Would you like to vote for an umbrella or butterfly or something?
and I assume the symbols are because maybe some people are illiterate. Or
Yeah,
can't
in
read.
different states they have names and labels, but in this one it's
Interesting.
different. Say New York ballot actually. People don't suspect that in New York there are so many different parties and candidates for so many offices. This, in contrast, for instance, this is the Spanish ballot for the Spanish Parliament, which is just the list of one party. You have to select one party, take the list as it is given. You cannot touch any name, not select any individual, and just give the party your vote, and the people elected will be in the order that the party has selected internally.
So this would be called an open list?
No, there's closed list. This is a closed list. The open list would be, for instance, this in Denmark, when you choose a party, but within the party, you can select some names. You can select a few names of the individuals in the party. There's an open list.
Got it.
Okay, but there are many variations. So this is Mexico, which is very nice in colors, etc. So many different ballots. Okay, and then so this is not very well studied. Actually, it's amazing. But so I try to introduce this because I think it's very important for the selection of quality politicians, right? We want good representatives, and it's not only the party that matters, it's also personal qualifications.
So you've preempted me a little. I was going to question, while this is very well and all good and interesting in the black box of academia, what relevance does this have?
Well, probably it's more interesting now, at least for me, because what's happening in the last period is that political parties in most countries, or many countries, are converging on the same or similar public policy proposals, partly due to globalization. Say the European Union, the global institutions, so more or less promote some policies that people adapt to, or governments adapt, or political parties adapt, and there is a more policy consensus, if you want to call it like this, among parties.
Well, we definitely saw this in the last election between,
Well, in the United States in particular, of course, but increasingly in other countries as well, where the left and the right were more diverse, more distant from each other, and now they are much closer, especially in economic policy, but also in social policy and many other things. And then, as long as the political party competition on public policy is less intense, because they converge, then I think the selection of individuals is more important, because it's the people who must be qualified in order to implement that policy, in order to guarantee the people's freedoms and rights, and to make the government honest. So personal qualifications matter more than when the basic choice was between very distant policy proposals. So I think this kind of ballots, where you can select individuals and not only party or party list, are becoming more interesting and should be studied and promoted.
And I think that's something, I know at least in my lifetime in the US, they've always heralded personal qualities and qualifications for voting, but I think maybe this is a more European-centric, where you vote for the party platform, particularly in Spain or Latin America.
You're right, you're right. I collaborated in a few electoral reforms and constitutional reforms in a few countries. Say, for instance, in Mexico, I was at the top. I was, I think, the only non-Mexican in an expert commission to elaborate a proposal for the constitutional reform a few years ago. This was in Colombia, and this was very successful because the Congress approved almost everything that we proposed as experts. Was Arturo Valenzuela, Aaron Leiphart, Matthew Schubert, and I think we did a very good job in order to enhance the quality of democracy in Colombia. I was the chairman of the expert commission for the electoral law of Catalonia. We produced this report. And even more recently, so in Spain, I was promoting opening the list. So the party lists that are closed, that you cannot choose an individual within the party, should be open, as in most countries, with different formulas in order to select both a party, but also some individuals that are going to fill the seats that the party is allocated. I think that's increasingly interesting and important, yeah, and has not been very studied, is understudied, and should be a subject.